broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on episode 21 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Damon, and unfortunately, Trevor can't make it this episode, so it's just Damon and I right now. How were your holidays, Damon?
They were good, thank you.
Yeah?
They were good. I mean, besides the fact that I got the, mutant mold Disney ornaments, other than that, I'm good.
The what?
You don't know about the mold Disney ornaments from Costco?
I do not know about this.
See, and Nick, like I said, we were talking about him not being up on Disney news, right?
Okay. So I should also say that we do have a special guest with us today. So we have Nick Cotton here from DVC Resale Market. I don't know, those of you out there that are listening have probably heard of his site. He is the leading resale market out there, and we're so fortunate to have Nick on today because Nick is a great resource for everything DVC, especially with the resale. So thank you so much for joining us, Nick.
Yeah, guys, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on again. And, we got a little bit of news to talk about.
Oh, yeah. How are your holidays, by the way? Did you have good holidays?
Yeah, they were great. We had quite a great present. Our baby boy was born on the 27th, 2 days after Christmas. And so we've had a very, very busy holiday.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to make gift giving very hard for you. I have a son that's born in December as well. Good luck with that.
I know. We'll have to have like that, that present under the tree that's got like the non-Christmas wrapping on it. Make sure it's distinguished that this is for birthday.
Yes, the do not open until way after Christmas present.
Right.
So I'm gonna side note this and just tell you by having 14 years of that under my belt, what we actually ended up doing was for my son's birthdays we always take him to the bookstore and let him buy books, something that's so far removed from what we would normally do for him on Christmas. So that's kind of been our thing is hey, it's your birthday, it's in December, Christmas is coming up, but guess what? We're going to go to the bookstore, buy yourself a bunch of books, and that kind of gets them through the year. So,
no, good idea. Yeah, I think we'll have to do something obvious. Yeah, something that's distinctly not Christmas for him. Especially because he's like that week between Christmas and New Year's where all the decorations are still up, all the music's still playing. So, we'll have to be very careful with that.
Yep. So you see, we at DVC, Welcome Home always does something different. We go on tangents every time we can, or at least I do. I try to tangent at every point possible.
I think we are a very ADD show here, but that's okay. That's really great. Congratulations. We're very happy for you. My big question is, when the baby came home, did you say welcome home?
Yeah, there was a lot of welcome homes. I mean, absolutely. So it was exciting, and his big sister was awfully excited, and he's been introduced to Anna and Elsa about 35 times. So
that's funny. Thank you so much again for joining, Nick. We really wanted to have you on today, to talk about kind of our first topic today, and that is that DVC, and we're starting off with DVC today, which we try to most of the time, but DVC direct purchase prices are increasing, and so I'll just kind of mention a couple different increases that are happening here, and some of you might have seen this. So some of the resorts out there, some of the villas and the DVC properties are actually going up quite a bit. In fact, some of them are going over $200 per point. So, for example, Grand Californian is going to be at $235, going from $185 to $235. Grand Floridian is going from $185 to $220. Polynesian's going from $176 to $220. So there's some big rises here, and all of them, kind of the rest of them are around the 6% range. Except for Beach Club, it looks like they're going up. Not 6%, I guess. 6%. So, and some of them are going up a little bit more than that. And so we're, I'm reading this chart wrong. I'm sorry, not 6%, $6 per point, right, Nick? You could correct me.
Nick,
that's right. It's $6 a point. Yes. And so when you look at it, it's when you look at some of the newer properties that are going up like that amount, you're talking more like a 3-4% price increase.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was reading I saw one chart that had percentages, and your chart on your website has the actual dollar amount. So, so Damon, were you going to say something?
I don't know why we keep you around. That's actually what I was going to say. But
I mean, I don't know why either. So, but so Nick, we wanted to talk to you about this because I feel like this is going to have a pretty large impact on the resale market with these price changes. Especially with some of these going over $200 a point. That is a very large increase for a lot of these. And so I was curious just kind of some of the different things, some of the different ways that this is going to affect resale. And, does this make resale an even more attractive option? So would love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, thank you. I think what you'll see in the resale market is when direct prices increase like this, it's like a switch is going to be flipped on the 17th. $50 point increase for Grand Californian, 35 for Grand Floridian, 44 point increase for Polynesian. But what you're going to see in the resale market, what we typically see with the price increases is nothing that instantaneous. But what you probably will see, and what we've already seen, is even since the announcement, is the inventory starts to shrink up, especially for those ones that are going to have significant increases. We've definitely seen a shrinking of the Grand California and the Grand Floridian inventory specifically. And then as inventory shrinks up for those properties, naturally the price does rise. Will we see, for example, in 2018, Grand Floridians go up $35 a point on the resale market? Probably not. It's probably not going to, feel the full effect of the direct price increase, but certainly it will impact it. And over time, especially when you look at, especially this time of year for it to happen, because we're in peak planning season. A few days after Christmas, all the way up until April is peak planning season for all of Disney. And so the Disney Reservation Center gets impacted, Disney Vacation Club, especially on the phone. Telesales department gets impacted, and certainly the resales get impacted. So you're talking about, in general, a busy time of year for buyers anyway. And then you've got this price increase announcement coming, or this price increase coming. So it's going to impact it. I think you'll see some inventory shrink up over the next few months, and then I think you will see some prices go up. Not as much as I don't think you will see it as much magnitude as the direct, but you will feel some of it for sure.
Now, Nick, have you seen this before? Like, have you seen increases like this before, or was this something that was, even a little bit sticker shock to you?
I've never seen one this big. When you're talking about like Grand California was the most extreme at $50 a point increase. Never seen one that big. We've seen some that were, $15, maybe $20 a point. Especially on sold out inventory. And just to clarify what that means to the audience, I'm sure many know, some may not know, but sold out inventory is inventory that's, for example, would be like a Grand California, and it would be a boardwalk. It would be something that the developer, Disney Vacation Development, has sold out of at some point in time, and now it's considered sold out. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't ever sell those points again. They can get them back and right of first refusal buybacks. They can get them back in a foreclosure situation. And they can resell them, but it's not live inventory anymore to them. It's still considered a sold out property that they may just have a limited amount of inventory on. The live product is going to be something right now like a Copper Creek, Polynesian for maybe, who knows, a few more weeks, and then Alani. So those are the live properties they have. So we have seen some large price increases before on historically sold out properties. Nothing of this magnitude. It's not terribly surprising that they may take such a high price increase on some of those properties. And I say that just because what those properties like Grand California, Grand Floridian, Polynesian resell for wasn't an enormous gap between what even the direct prices were. And so we didn't really see a lot of buybacks with those properties. Now that could potentially change a little bit, as they've raised that price, so significantly. I think the other part about it for them that does play as an advantage for direct is that when they have the products like Grand California and Floridian and Polynesian that are over $200 a point, it also in turn makes the live product look more attractive in comparison. When you look at the prices of a Copper Creek or an Alani, that'll be around $182. In comparison, it'll certainly make them look better.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't really think about that, especially since they have the new one that, they keep talking about. And I had kind of told the guys that, I was being told that was going to be over $200 a point when it finally was finished. The one at Caribbean, which the name's eluding me again, Tom.
Riviera.
Thank you. When
that's
I
what
was
I'm here
there
for.
last time.
You were asking why I'm here. That's why.
That's exactly what. Normally that would be Trevor. Normally that would be Trevor. So yes, that's glad that you're filling in for him for that. So I guess Nick, the other question that I would kind of have for you is, does this normally, and again I'm asking this, actually maybe even Tom can answer this. Does this normally change a reshuffling of points for stays at these places as well, or usually not?
No, it shouldn't change anything to do with availability. I've been asked that a few times as well, and that won't be impacted. Even when a resort sells out, it really doesn't significantly change the availability because, like, for example, let's use Polynesian that's currently and going into a final sellout mode. Well, even over the past, year or two, since the resort's been fully developed, well, Disney owned whatever was not sold, they owned. And, they can do what they want to with what they own. So they naturally would rent it out. So that availability, is still going to stay consistent. So that's not going to change, with these price changes. So that should, people shouldn't feel like they're going to get impacted by that.
Okay, that's definitely good to know.
Yeah, and you had mentioned buybacks, Nick. Could you mention a little bit about that, about what you mean by buyback? Because some of our listeners might not know. And how does that really affect? How does this really affect those buybacks from Disney? I was wondering if you get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever a contract is sold in the resale market, it's submitted to Disney. They have up to 30 days in what is called the right of first refusal to decide if they want to purchase it back at the same terms. Now, if you go to our website, dvcresalemarket.com, and you go to our blog section, each month we publish every contract that was purchased back. So when you go to, like, for example, especially our December one, it's going to have a summary of everything that was bought back for the whole year. And when you look at those buybacks, you're going to see, like, for example, there was 53 contracts bought back that were Saratoga Springs. That was the most of any resort. And then when you look at some of the when you look at some of the ones that had significant price increases, Grand Floridian, we had one buyback the whole year. We had 0 for Grand Californian, and we had 0 for Polynesian. And, part of a big reason for that is, when you think of Disney buying these back, obviously, they're going to look at their best financial opportunity. And if they can buy back a Saratoga Springs, let's say around $85 a point, and resell it at $145 a point, that's you're talking about them making a $60 a point spread on a basis that costs them about $85. So, that's a significant return. When you look at something, let's say Grand Floridian, and let's say with their current price before this price increase, they're talking, they resell it at $185. Well, Grand Floridian may typically sell on the resale market at about $140, $145. So now you're talking about a $40 a point return on a $145 a point investment. So you can see how much that return on investment can be very different. When you're talking 60 on 85, you're talking about, about 70% versus, we're talking then, 40 on 145, maybe 28%. So certainly you can see why it's much more attractive for them to look at something like a Saratoga Springs or Old Key West or Animal Kingdom for a buyback. Now, with this price increase, now you're saying, okay, if they can still purchase back the Grand Floridian, around the 140s, resell it at 220, the dynamics of what they could potentially make could change. Now, granted, if they do start buying them back, at prices that Grand Floridian has traditionally been selling for, then obviously that's going to tighten inventory a little bit, and that would also contribute to an increase in resale pricing, trying to avoid, getting bought back.
So I have a question. When I was actually on my cruise, we sat down with the DVC people just because, you're on a cruise. They have a little bit of they have your audience, let's say, for a little while. And we were kind of chit-chatting about,
Sure.
I own at Saratoga, and I was like, well, do you have 50 points floating around? And, they make their calls, and they're like, no. So, but we can put you on the wait list, and when we come up with 50 points, then we'll, give you a holler, and then you'll have, you're under a time constraint to make that choice if you want them or not. So I was just wondering, like, how well you know that back end. So, like, if someone's asking for something, does that change the way Disney buys back, or do they just kind of buy back on whatever schedule they have, and if someone's asking, they just kind of wait them out? I just didn't know if you knew too much about that, because I was surprised. Like I said, it took them a fair amount of time to get back to me, at least over a month, to find 50 points for Saratoga for me, which I did not take because, again, I'm coming to you when I need 50 more points. But I was just curious at, like, kind of how that works, if you know how the back end of that works at all.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. So it's with their buybacks, it's going to be on a little bit more of a macro picture, but if they have a lot of people, for example, looking to buy Saratoga, certainly that would impact their buying decisions. But it's also not necessarily just a matter of how many are you necessarily you specifically. For example, when I was there working direct, I mean, we had about a 2 to 3 year wait list for Grand Californian. Now, 2 to 3 years is a long wait list. I mean, it went on for pages and pages of people looking for different things for Grand Californian. But so it's not that they don't have the opportunities to buy back, but it's also they have to look at it from a business perspective of, if we buy this back, what's our highest and best use of the money? If we also have people waiting for Saratoga and it's got a better return on investment, maybe not, it's not as in demand kind of, but there are people there, it's logical that they're going to go for that first. Just like any of us, if we have an opportunity to purchase a stock that, everybody's saying it's going to go up 30%, and the other one, everybody's saying it's going to go up 5%, where you're going to put your, and this is not even a speculation. This is like I already have a credit card on file for it, so it's pretty secure. So they're going to do, they're going to make macro business decisions. But certainly, if they get a lot of people coming in for Saratoga like yourself, certainly that would affect, what they're looking to buy back, especially if the margins on it are strong. Saratoga specifically, they certainly traditionally have been strong, based on the cost basis of what they can get it back for on the resale market.
So one of the things that they were kind of trying to sell me on, and again, was the price of staying with 50 point Saratoga versus, buying out the new points, 50 points at, let's say, Copper Creek or something that had a longer end date. And, kind of the argument was, hey, you're going to spend X couple thousands of dollars more, but you get, X more years, in the system. But really, I was only getting X more years at, let's say, 50 points. I'm still going to end up losing, my 100 and, I don't even know what I have, 170? Yeah, 170 points at Saratoga will obviously end before my, if I did end up buying, Copper Creek, let's say. So tell me, like, what your thought process is for someone that already owns, let's say, at a resort, and then they want to make a secondary, like myself, purchase of, 50 more points. Do you try to steer them towards the same, place that they already at? And let's leave out the 11-month booking window, because I don't know if Tom's told you, I'm really lucky with like getting whatever I want for DVC, because it must just be when I travel, or I'm just a lucky person. I don't know. So leaving that part aside.
He doesn't even plan ahead or anything.
I don't plan ahead at all.
Last minute. I don't even know how he does it.
Always last minute. But leaving that 11-month window out, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you normally try to steer people towards?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me give the answer both ways, because there's going to be people just like you that are going to say the 11-month window, I don't use it. And there's going to be people who say, I use it all the time. So for the people who don't use it, what they presented to you was certainly very valid, because was really what it comes down then to is a very much an economic play. Because if you're not using the home resort priority window, all points are points, right? Everything's equal. So then it comes down to, okay, well, what makes the most economic sense for me? So then what you would want to do is you basically say, okay, I got three components of economics. I've got how many years are left on it. I've got the dues, and I've got the price per point. Certainly, what they were, really, talking to you, focusing on you with was the years left. And that's certainly one of the three key components of economic value. And if you're not a home resort priority booker, certainly, that's what you're going to want to focus on. So when it comes to somebody who is not focused on home resort priority and doesn't believe that they're going to need it based on the time of year they travel, then going to a different home resort is obviously going to be less of a big deal unless life changes and all of a sudden you needed that home resort priority. Maybe you started going to it in a busier time of year, or you wanted to become more of a planner. But assuming it's just an economic choice, typically in the world of resale, historically Saratoga Springs is going to be your strongest bet when you look at a combination of years, dues, and price. Where Copper Creek would hurt you a little bit, obviously with the economics. Obviously, if it's direct, the price per point is going to be, much more. But also, the dues are going to be they're a bit higher there as well. When we look at Copper Creek, we're a little over $7 a point. You compare that to a Saratoga Springs, we're just shy of $6 a point at $5.86 a point. So that's what I would say for somebody who is not necessarily worried about that home resort priority window or never even uses it. Getting a different resort is not necessarily a big deal. I would really focus on the economics of what you're purchasing. Now, if you're somebody that would look at the home resort priority, you might book in that 7 to 11 month window. This becomes a much bigger deal because then you have to ask yourself, okay, so let's say, I have 50 points at a particular resort, and you're looking to add on maybe 50 more. The big question would be, first off, sometimes that, where I go with guests is, is the 50 points at the resort you have, is that the resort you want to be at? Because sometimes people are like, no, I always wanted to, have points at Boardwalk. And so the better answer may be, well, to sell what you have and then let's go buy 100 points at Boardwalk. If somebody says to, that, no, I like the place I have, and I actually, but I just need, more, I need to do a longer stay there, or I need to do a bigger room, then clearly the answer is, add on to the resort you have. The other option could be if somebody says, well, I got 50 points, and it's sufficient for the home, the amount of stay that I do at this resort. But, we also like to do a husband and wife trip during food and wine season, and we'd love to be at Beach Club or Boardwalk or something like that. Well, then, maybe we add on 50 points there to do a couple nights in a studio or something like that. So, what we do, it's a very customized approach. There's definitely not a one size fits all. And, that's why one of the most important roles that we have is really listening to who we have in front of us. Just like, for your situation, if I was talking, if we were having this conversation, and you were looking to add on, certainly, we'd probably go Saratoga Springs. I mean, it sounds like the economics is going to be, the best solution for you.
Yeah, and again, I think that's probably where I'm leaning as well. It's just a matter of coming up with that money, but obviously less money than if I was buying direct, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it can definitely save you some money. I mean, especially too if and you mentioned it earlier. I mean, of the three parts of economics, Copper Creek is going to win out on years, but it's going to be years you have just on those 50 points. So it's an economic factor that won't play a part for some time.
Yes, that's definitely true. So I have another question that I'm just wondering if it's something, you come across in some of your research these days, because as we were kind of chatting one day, I think the time of years that are the busiest has kind of changed from what we were used to, let's say, even just 5 years ago. I know that, we have a lot of people that are, maybe complaining a little bit more, for DVC about not getting rooms or not getting what they want based on the time of year that were notoriously not very busy. So, I mean, have you seen a shift, in DVC in the time of years that have been, booked, and kind of like when you're talking to people, because I guess you're asking like when they are going to travel, like, have you seen that kind of change a little bit and kind of like maybe have more times that are busier or, different times that are not busy? I was just kind of curious about that.
I would say probably one of the biggest impacts I've seen is to the fall season. It's so funny. When I started at Disney in general back in 2004, 13 years ago, it was just, it was very quiet. I mean, you had a little bit of a food and wine crowd, not really a whole lot. Mickey's, not so scary, was super easy to get into. So was Very Merry. It's, kudos to Disney. I mean, it's brilliant marketing, and they took what was traditionally slower times, early December, September, October, and they've turned them into juggernauts. I mean, now those times of the year, it's certainly no Easter week, it's no Christmas week, but it's busy. I would say that's where I've seen some of the biggest impact. And I think as a DVC member, we tend to see these impacts a little bit sooner because as DVC members, we tend to be a little savvier. As DVC members, we feel like we've invested in Disney. We've bought property, we own real estate, into Disney. We own a piece of the magic, and we're a little savvier. We keep up with the things a little bit more, and so no surprise that DVC members realize pretty quickly that early mid-December, Christmas decorations are up, weather's nice, I can go to Mickey's Very Merry, and it becomes very popular. And I think a little bit of a lag behind then is then the other audience, maybe not DVC members, but they're but they love Disney, and then they're coming too. And I think I think DVC members feel the impact a little bit sooner, but I think everybody eventually feels it, and Disney's really plugging away at those times that were historically a little more quiet, and they've expanded their offerings. I mean, also the Flower and Garden Festival, it kind of used to be kind of very quiet. I mean, I remember my wife and I were staying at the beach club for a little trip in May, which we don't own a beach club. But now I can't imagine us getting like kind of a last minute stay in May. I'm not sure with the Flower and Garden Festival. And we just kind of walked right into Epcot. It was kind of quiet and everything like that, and so it's just, I would say some of those times of the year that were historically quiet have gotten busier, and it's no accident. I mean, Disney's certainly strategically doing certain events at certain times of the year to make that happen.
Now, do you think that, I mean, for your own self, again, this is more opinion question, I mean, how much DVC can they support, right? So we're talking about Riviera coming, and it's not like other things where, hey, they're closing down, my favorite ride, Ellen, to put in stupid Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like, you're talking about just adding more DVC, really not subtracting anywhere else. I mean, is there going to be a point where, DVC is kind of like, well, why do I want DVC? There's so much of it out there, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, I think the balance will always be what my cost alternative is to go to Disney. Because Disney has its popularity is so strong, and why they have not added a major theme park in a long time, in the longest stretch they've ever had, in fact, in the history of Disney World, they have done things to certainly strongly enhance the parks they have, and really make a strong effort and new attractions and things like that. So the popularity continues to rise, and as long as those room rates, when you compare it against the value of owning DVC, the economics work out. I think they can certainly continue to add and build to the program. And the good news for that is when they do add, when they add the Riviera and stuff like that, it adds to the portfolio that we as members have to choose from, which is really cool because when you join, there's a certain amount of resorts. When I first joined, gosh, I think maybe we had there was, maybe 8 options, and now there's 14. And so, that's something that you go into never expecting. When I joined, I had no idea there would be a Riviera. I had no idea, there would be a Grand Floridian, Polynesian. And so, I think you have to also look at the positive with that, is that there's new selection for you, new offerings. And I think, they can keep going as long as the economics work, as long as, it's going to be a very strong financial alternative to just paying cash.
Now, Tom, have we ever asked Nick what his favorite resort is?
We haven't. No. I do have another question for him, but yeah, that's a good question. What is your favorite resort to stay at, Nick?
I'd probably say my favorite area, and again, it for me it really can depend on the trip, and we have kids, they obviously can influence things as well. But if I'd say my favorite area is probably the Epcot area. So I would have to go. I'm an owner at Boardwalk, so I'm a little partial, I guess, there. But I would say Boardwalk or Beach Club would probably be my top 2.
Great. No, I love Boardwalk. Damon actually said it's his new favorite resort after he stayed there last time. So
I loved it. I tell you, I really did.
Here's a question for you, Nick. So all this stuff going on, I've seen when I see all this posted on the Disney groups, I feel like a lot of the DVC members feel like this is a negative thing that's happening. Do you feel like this is a positive thing for owners or a negative thing?
You're talking about now. I'm sorry. Are you talking about the price increase or the
the price increase?
Okay,
I'm sorry,
okay.
the price increase.
Yeah. I would say certainly for owners. Gosh, I mean, there's certainly something positive to be looked at from this. I mean, anytime you own something and the price of it is increasing, I mean, at the end of the day, that's definitely good. Not that DVC is an investment, no timeshare is, but if you own a stock and it goes up, that's a good thing. Now I can see where some people could look at it negative to say, well, geez, I wanted to add on to this eventually too. Maybe I joined with 150, but my plan was to eventually get up to 300, and this is going to make it that much harder. I totally understand that. That's certainly going to be, a reality. It could be a little bit more expensive. However, the good news for that is there's the resale market. And like I said, towards the beginning of the conversation about the price increase, even though the developer in Disney, is increasing the prices, over $200 a point, doesn't mean that resale is going to react that fast or in that magnitude. It will react. It will adjust. There's no doubt about it. But it won't happen overnight, and it won't happen in that magnitude. And, my advice, too, to anybody out there that's, thinking at some point, I wanted to add on, I would say I would consider doing it sooner versus later. I mean, whether it be direct or certainly especially with resale. I will tell you with resale, right now the prices for a lot of these resorts have maybe just gone up just a little bit since the announcement, but they haven't gone up tremendously. But what does happen this time of year is we're in peak buying season, is inventory shrinks up, and especially with news like this, it will continue to shrink up, and then prices will gradually rise. And then even if they don't go up significantly, certainly your selection gets a lot more limited. So just something else to consider. But it's good news for sellers. If you were thinking about maybe, I talked on the other day with a lady who owns Grand Floridian, and this is a perfect time for her to also sell it because now she can get good value out of it as much as she bought it for, and it's just not the right resort for her. They were talking to me and they're just like, it's just not us. And there's nothing wrong. She's like, there's nothing wrong with that resort. It's a beautiful resort. It's just not us. And so, it was an easy game plan to say, okay, look, we could sell, the 50 points you have there, and then we could look to buy the 100 points you want at Wilderness Lodge, which is where you guys want to be. So for a lot of owners, it's also a positive, and that it's allowing them to, maybe make a switch that they always wanted to do.
That's great. Well, we got to let you go, Nick. We appreciate all your time. I know you had some limited time with us today, but Damon,
yes.
Did you have anything else before you go?
No, I just want to say, like I said, thank you very much. And Nick, we're in the process of moving ourselves just in our regular house. So that's what we're kind of been waiting on. It's always a good time to purchase points when you have, cash lying around. So understand that once my house gets sold, I will be coming to you and we will be documenting that process on our podcast of purchasing points. And I think that will be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. I look forward to helping you out, and I look forward to being documented here.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And Nick, if you could tell everyone where people can find you to check out resale, if they and you guys, you'll list contracts that people want to sell, and you also help people buy those contracts too, right? So it's buying and selling, right?
That's correct. So yeah, whether you're in the market, even if you're even thinking about selling, or even you're curious to what your contract's worth, definitely visit our site. We even have patent pending value estimator tool in there where you could put in the contract you have. But before you even talk to somebody, get at least an automated answer instantly on what your contract we would recommend listening for. So it's dvcresalemarket.com. Again, that's dvcresalemarket.com. And for buyers, right now we have almost 200 listings. So there's a very strong selection of listings right now. But I would tell you probably by the time we get to late May, that 200 will probably be tightened down to about 60 or 70 listings. Last year in 2017, we started 2017 with almost 400 active listings. By the time we got through with summer, we were down to less than 50 active listings. So it's, for buyers, definitely, if you want the best selection, I would say certainly come visit our site sooner versus later. And if you want to speak to us on the phone, we love to talk to you on the phone as well. We're open 7 days a week, and our number is 1-844-DVC-PROS. Again, that's 1-844-DVC-PROS, 1-844-382-7767.
That is great. And we can't tell you enough how much we appreciate you coming on here. You know way more about this stuff than we do, so we appreciate your expertise and you coming on to tell us all about this, because I think it's an interesting topic that a lot of our listeners will be interested in hearing about, because it is one of those things that is on everybody's mind right now. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me, guys. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Nick, well, it was really great to have Nick on. I swear that we could probably bring Nick on here like every week and learn something new.
Or I think actually not having Trevor and having Nick worked out as well. So
yeah, no, for sure. It was really great to have Nick on here, and I mean, it's a really timely topic too, because of all the different things that are going on with DVC at the moment, and some of the different things that are changing. So so we talked about that. We talked about DVC for a while there, but there are a couple other topics, Damon. I don't know if you saw any of these.
I see them all.
You've seen them all. So the new security procedures in place at WDW. I saw this floating around a lot, and some people were concerned about it. But basically, for those that don't know, Disney's replacing all the Do Not Disturb signs in rooms with Room Occupied signs. And the reason for this is because they are actually, it's a new policy where cast members are actually going to enter every room once a day.
In theory.
Yeah, I mean, you assume that they're going to, yeah, in theory. This is unfortunately, it seems like it's in response to some of the incidents that have happened recently with hotels, and security. So, what were you gonna say, Damon? I'm sorry.
I know. I was just gonna say, I think that people are getting a little crazy about this, because I think that while the policy allows them to enter once a day, I don't know if that's what we'll see. I think that it's more of a detriment it's more of a deterrent that they will be able to come in rather than it happening every day, is my thought. I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of my thought, right? You have to set a policy in place that says you can do something rather than you're going to do something in case you need to do something, if that all makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, and that could absolutely be the case with this. And I mean, they do say on the do not, not on the room occupied signs, they do say on them that they have the right to come in even if you have the sign out too. So, I think anytime they do anything for safety, whether it's a deterrent like you're saying, or if it's an actual real safety, not that this isn't a real safety thing, but anytime they do anything like this, I'm okay with it. I mean, I think most people during the day are not in their rooms anyway.
The only thing that I'm going to say is there's two specific scenarios that could be, this could be an issue with, and I guess that's sleeping children, right? And yeah. I'm just going to keep it child safe and say, if you're on your honeymoon.
Well, you still have the bar, so they can't come in. You can still...
You do still have the bar, but I think what's going to happen is that they're going to, like, hey, if you throw this up for, 2 days, yeah, they're going to come make a visit. But I think if you're kind of using it, as normal people would use it, which is, a couple hours one day and an hour this day, I think that you're going to be okay. Obviously, I cannot speak for that, but that's just kind of what I feel like. Now, yeah. I know I've been to Disney, and I've passed some rooms that have had that sign out for probably a full week. Yeah.
The entire stay, yeah.
Yeah, and I could see where they want to kind of see what's going on there. So
yeah, it's understandable.
I'm okay with this, too. I don't have a problem with this. Again, I'm not worried about the first one, and the second one is also infrequent enough that I'm not worried about it either. So I'm okay. I feel like I'm okay. When you're traveling with 3 kids that are over the age of
that's
8,
not going to happen.
Neither one of them is probably going to happen. So I'm okay with that.
Read between the lines, everyone. No, anyway, so having to do with this too, actually, is DVC. All the DVC resorts are now going to have daily trash removal service,
and we are super happy about this.
Yes. Well, you have a bigger family, so you guys probably generate a decent amount of trash.
Huge thing for us. Huge. We actually were having this discussion before this came out, right? We just happened to be chit-chatting about DVC as we, sometimes do at home. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that was kind of one of the things that we were talking about is that, man, like I just wish there was more, trash service in particular, because as you said, we do generate a fair amount of trash. We're, we have cleaning people at home. When you're on vacation, you don't want to lose that, right? Like you want to gain that. So I thought that the length of time in between them coming was a problem for us in particular, with 3 messy kids, a messy father, and a very clean wife. So the very clean wife would always be upset because the place was always messy, while the 4 other people could care less about the messiness. So this is good. I would agree. Now, the question is, if you don't want it every day, are they going to give you anything back like they were planning, or with some of the other places, non-DVC, or no?
Well, I think it's because it's just trash and they're not going to be doing anything else, as far as I can tell. Probably not, I would think.
And these things are probably related.
Yes.
So, that makes
That's
sense.
What I'm thinking.
Yeah, and, they found a good way to kind of check on you once a day with daily trash removal.
Exactly. We need to remove your trash, so we got to come into your room and look around a little bit while we remove your trash, right? So.
And I'm okay. And I don't think there's even any looking around. I mean, it's just making sure you don't have that big box that's labeled whatever.
Yeah, something suspicious.
Yes, yeah. I think that's more likely. So I'm okay with this, too.
I also think it's really good, too, because, one of the things I always see that DVC members complaining about is people leaving their trash in the hallway.
Well, first of all, that's just rude.
It is.
In general.
It is.
But yes, maybe this means, well, and you know what? Let me rethink that a second. So while it is rude, this is what I will say. If you're not getting trash pickup every day, what are you really supposed to do with it?
Well, I think all of the resorts do have a trash room, like a room where there's like, a place to put your trash, but they don't tell you where that is when you check in. You just have to kind of find it.
So you kind of have to, wander around with trash.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's why, like I said, while I do consider that rude, maybe this will, like you said, help alleviate that, which is always a good thing.
I would think it would. And I don't know how many people are doing it, putting trash in the hallway that are meaning to be rude about it. It's probably more that they just don't know where to put it, right? Like you were saying.
Could be.
They don't know what to do with it. I mean, as DVC members, we only get the housekeeping every 4th day, so, a lot of trash can build up over 4 days. Now, not for me, because we don't just generate a lot of trash. But like you said, a family of your size, I could totally see you having a lot of trash. So
exactly.
So this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, even if it's a guy's to just come into your room, to check in. I still think it's not a bad thing. It's always good to have more service than less, I think, personally. Agree. So. And this one I thought was interesting. The guaranteed weeks for Run Disney events. I don't know if you saw anything about this, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I did not think it was interesting. I think that why should runners have any sort of preference to anything?
Well, I don't. So here's the thing. I don't know.
I'm a Beverly drinker. Does that mean that I get, Epcot, extra Epcot because, I'm a certified Beverly drinker?
No, but why do you drink Beverly? Beverly's disgusting. No one likes Beverly.
No, they don't. But again, I was giving myself a very cool title there. But
okay.
I get I get why they're doing it, but it's a preference for I don't know. There's a lot of events that go on. Why this one was singled out, I don't know. Again, these things don't usually impact me all that much, so I tend not to care. Yeah, but. I don't know.
And those who don't know, maybe I should explain this. DVC announced that they're offering what's called a guaranteed week. They've done this in the past, but now, they're doing a specific thing now where it's for people that do the Run Disney events. So those that do the Disney marathons and the 5Ks, the 10Ks, all those different things. Basically you can buy a guaranteed week that you can have every year. So if you're wanting to do, whatever race it is, the Princess Half Marathon. And by the way, if anybody writes in and tells me that there's no such thing as a Princess Half Marathon, I don't care. So go ahead and correct me. That's fine. It's, I'm sure there's one, called that or of some sort. So anyway, you buy a week. And you have guaranteed access to that week every year. You get early registration to the races. It's only for Copper Creek. So really, I see this as just another way for them to sell some Copper Creek. It's just a promotional thing in my mind.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, but it's kind of an interesting thing when they do the guaranteed weeks. I don't think they've done it all that recently. They used to do it a lot more often. But it's an interesting idea, but I can't imagine it's going to be like crazy hugely popular, because I can't see anybody buying a timeshare just to have a guaranteed week to go to marathons. But who knows?
Then you don't know too many runners then.
No, you know what? That's a good point, because every runner I know is obsessed with running. So
exactly,
and I probably am the person with the with the sticker on the back of my car that says 0.0. I don't run. Have you ever seen those?
I have.
Yeah, that's basically me. I don't run. So. That doesn't appeal to me, but I'm sure it will appeal to some runners out there. So I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, so we talked a couple weeks ago about, actually, this is probably 2 shows ago now. I think we first brought this up because this was rumor, maybe back in November, October timeframe, that Disney was going to start offering a 60-day fast pass window to select Good Neighbor hotels. So we at the time presented it as rumor because it wasn't announced yet. Disney's officially announced it. What I think is interesting about this is that Disney specifically said that it will only be available for 2018. And what I think is interesting about that is I'm wondering if Disney's just doing this as a way to... And actually, I think this is exactly what they're doing, because I took some Disney travel agency training today, and they made it very much seem like this is the reason why, is that there's a lot of hotels under refurbishment right now. Caribbean Beach is a total train wreck at the moment. They're building new buildings for, they're building the Riviera. They're building other hotel rooms. I think that they feel like there's going to be a lot more people coming in to see Toy Story Land, and they're going to not have as much hotel inventory as they want. And so this is a way for them to still get people to the parks, but also make those other hotels attractive when they don't really have any inventory left.
Where are you seeing, though, that it's only for 2018, though?
So they actually announced, they said it's starting, hold on one sec here. I don't know what date it starts, but it says it ends December 31st, 2018.
But it says through. Like that to me, that doesn't say that it's only for 2018. It just says that's what they're announcing as we speak.
Well, yeah, it could go longer than that, but they were pretty, the fact that they say that it's it says beginning January 1st and through December 31st, 2018. Now, that's on the website we're looking at. The official Disney announcement, I believe it just said for 2018. So, and I just took a travel agency training today, and they were talking about the fact that, Disney, they basically straight out said that Disney has low inventory right now on hotel rooms. They didn't come out and say that, but they pretty much said that. And I don't know, that just seems like the reason to me.
That to me, that's interesting. Now, I had this discussion with my wife, who, again, is not a super Disney news person. And, when I told her about this, she was actually probably more upset about this than I've seen her upset about anything DVC. And she thought it was ridiculous. Now, while I understand what you're saying, with just the amount of rooms and the fact that a lot of things are under a refurbishment, I can buy into that if that's the case. If, we see this announced for 2019, that's going to be more of a problem. And I wonder, listen, let's be honest, Toy Story is huge, right? Is Star Wars bigger?
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Way bigger.
So,
yeah.
So the thing is that if they tried to pull this for Star Wars, I think you were going to get a lot of really, really mad people.
I would agree with that, and I guess I just feel like Disney wouldn't have put out, like, I feel like they just would have said these are the new benefits, you know what I mean, starting January 1st. I feel like they wouldn't have put an end date on it if they didn't.
I don't know. I think sometimes they stick dates on things just so that there's dates, and then they can always re-up it, kind of like what they said about the DVC lounge.
Yeah, that's true. They
had dates around that too.
They did, and they just renew that one every year. And they, like I said, they very well could renew this.
I if you're going to tell me it's just 2018, I'm not too upset. If it's going to go into 2019 and something they continue, that's when I think I would start to be upset. And again, I think people like my wife, who are not as into DVC, are already kind of upset about it. I think that would kind of push them over the edge a little bit. So I'm willing to hold back judgment until we see what happens in 2019, because really, let's be honest, for 2018 is really like it's just a block of time before Star Wars. That's all it is.
That's true. That's true. That's totally true. And it's funny because I think on the last show that we talked about this, I did the math on this and what kind of like actual impact this was going to have. and it wasn't much. And now that we know the hotels, I actually went back and I did all of the math on it and figured out exactly how many people were going to be, how much it was really going to be impacted.
Because the other thing is that you're going to have people staying at these good neighbor hotels that are not even going to Disney.
Exactly right, and that's exactly what I figured out. And for the life of me, I can't find it right now. But
I mean, next time I go, I'm staying at Embassy Suites and I'm going to Volcano Bay.
Yeah,
like I'm not worried about Disney.
Exactly,
Volcano Bay, man.
Well, and it's not even that many hotel rooms. It sounds like a lot, but it's about like 9,000 hotel rooms, which sounds like a lot. But you're talking about people that are going to go to conventions. They're going to go. Not all those people are going to Disney. Definitely not.
Exactly.
And when you spread it over 4 parks over an entire day, the impact is super, super small. It is in no way a big impact. And so that's kind of why I'm like, this isn't that big of a deal. I just don't see it as being that big of an impact as far as
talk to me at episode 35, and then I'll let you know how I really feel.
how bad it actually gets, and see if it actually is.
Again, I'm gonna care if it goes into 2019, but for now, I reserve judgment.
Yeah, and who knows? It might. I mean, I have no information whether it will or not. I feel like Disney's thinking that before Star Wars Land's open, they're gonna have the Riviera open. They're gonna have the Old Key West refurbishment done. They're going to be well into the Saratoga refurbishment that they're doing. All of that stuff, they're going to be, really far into it, so they'll have more inventory. I don't know, though. I like I said, I really don't know. So we'll have to see. But yeah. I thought that was interesting. So, and those that don't know, too, and, you didn't see this, Good Neighbor hotels, certain ones, not all of them, because there's like 50 Good Neighbor hotels, so it's definitely not all of them. It's I believe, 15 of them, I want to say. So it's not all of them. It's certain select ones. They're getting 60-day access to the Fast Pass window, and they're getting extra magic hours. So, but again, it's the parks are big. You're talking about not that much of an impact in each one of these places.
And I'll be honest with you, I've been thinking about this extra magic hour stuff again, and what I've been thinking is that a lot of people have been saying the following, and again, I don't know if this is true or not. That extra magic hours are actually overcrowding those parks rather than helping out. So it's almost like, maybe what you do is if you want to, let's say, go to Pandora, don't go when there's extra magic hours, especially in the morning. I'll leave night alone because I'm always asleep, and from what I understand, sometimes at night it gets okay. But in the morning, that extra magic hours just makes the park worse.
Yeah. I mean, so I've seen both ways, right? So I've done extra magic hours before where the parks were crazy busy.
Well, let's just say that you're going to rope drop.
Mm-hmm.
So what again, this is just all hearsay, right? Because we don't have numbers, we don't have confirmations and stopwatches and all of that. But hearsay says that if you're going to rope drop, maybe you don't want to rope drop early morning magic hour parks.
Yeah,
just a thought.
I would agree with that. I think the late night ones are better, personally, because I've done the Magic Kingdom ones before, where it was like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. Or actually, no, there was one. They used to be 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And so I had decided we were gonna do that one time. So the fireworks ended as soon as the fireworks ended, we went straight to Seven Dwarfs, and we got on Seven Dwarfs within like 20 minutes. And then we went on...
And then you realized how bad the ride sucks.
No, that ride is great. It's so much fun, especially at night. It's fun. But...
All 20 seconds of it?
It is not 20 seconds. But anyway, so we went over to Big Thunder after that. We rode Big Thunder Mountain like maybe 4 times. Yeah. Just in a row. And it was so much... Everyone was kind of having yelling and having a good time. It was a lot of fun. And then we did Peter Pan. It took us like 15 minutes on Peter Pan. We probably in the span of like those like 3.5 hours probably went on 10 things. I mean, it was totally worth it for that time when we did it at late night, because a lot of times, and I actually always joke with people when we did it that night that it was like almost like a zombie apocalypse happened at Disney World, because there was like literally nobody around. It was dead. Yeah. We were standing in Fantasyland, and there was nobody on the sidewalk, and it was like, this is weird, but also really cool, right? It felt really cool to be there at 1 o'clock in the morning and doing that. So I've seen it both ways. We've done the early ones before where it's been busy too. I just think it's one of those things where, kind of like what you're saying, kind of validating what you're saying, where people will think to themselves, okay, let's go to during the extra magic hours, because not a lot of people will be there then, and then everybody ends up going, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose of it. But I'd rather rope drop anyway. So, I mean,
that's true.
Although the early morning magic hours, you got to be there really early to rope drop those things.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I almost think it's not worth it for the twofold reason. One, you got to get up really early.
Yep.
I mean, we rope dropped Pandora. We were not there that early. We were there at 7 something. We were good. Right?
That's early for me.
Yeah, we were fine. Well, that's the thing. I think you have to pick and choose, right? You can't go 1 a.m. and then 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Like,
yeah, no.
I mean, you can, but like that's not a vacation anymore. That's a job.
Yeah, that would be tiring. That would require a midday nap. Yes. But I know what you mean. I just don't think this is going to have as much of an impact as people think it is when you really break it down. It adds maybe, I think I figured out in Magic Kingdom it adds like 20 people per hour per ride. So like 20 total people per hour per ride. I mean, it's not a lot, and that's really conservative numbers, by the way. I think it's way less than that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad.
No.
I was actually kind of hoping to have Trevor on for this one, but that's okay. We're missing Trevor today, but we'll have him back next week. But something just came out
2 weeks from now. Remember that?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Tom doesn't even know when we release our show.
I mean, next show. Let's say next show. I used the wrong term. So Disney World annual pass holders are losing their 20% discount on some restaurants, but instead gaining a 10% discount and expanding to more restaurants.
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Because I've never had an annual pass.
Yeah, so it doesn't really affect either one. I have.
It doesn't affect us, but thinking about it, as I like to do, I can see where this is a bigger deal in general, because what's happening is you're expanding the 10% discount to more restaurants, but I think most people that were annual pass holders were probably utilizing those specific restaurants for the 20%. And again, if you're an annual pass holder, you're there a lot. So, a 10% change over the course of a year is going to add up to a lot of money. You can't think about it. I'm only thinking about if I was an annual pass holder versus, somebody else, that maybe doesn't think about it like this. But for me, when I do, I would go to whatever places had a 20% discount. The kids would be like, hey, I really want to go there. No, you don't, because I can get 20% here, so we're not going there. And if you think about it in those terms, or even if, you're two people that don't have kids, if you start to add that up over the course of a year and you go every once in a while, man, that turns into a lot of loot.
It does. It does. And, I agree with you on that. And I think this is where you get, I feel like this is where all of a sudden Tables in Wonderland becomes kind of a important thing to do.
But is that per trip, Tables in Wonderland, or not?
No, that's an annual. That's an annual.
And what's the cost of that again?
So that's $150 to add on, but you get 20% off all food and beverage purchases at certain Disney restaurants.
And is that across all parks that there's restaurants, or only in Epcot?
Yeah, no, it's a fair amount of the restaurants that offer it. So,
and I think what the AP people would say is, "Hey, I already had that." Right? Like,
yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Well, the nice thing about Tables in Wonderland, though, it is valid for up to 10 people. So all the people in your party could get the discount together. Whereas with AP cards, I don't think you could do that. You might be able to. I've had a hard time getting my DVC discount for other people in my party that are non-DVC. I've asked, and they'll go like, okay, we'll do it for you this time, but and for Tables in Wonderland, you could do it for everybody there. So, but I mean, I'm just looking at the list of restaurants here. Pretty much, I mean most of the main restaurants except Tables in Wonderland. So all over the resort. So I feel like this makes Tables in Wonderland a lot more valuable, by getting rid of that 20% discount and having the 10%, because now everyone's going to want to do the Tables in Wonderland.
I guess I just see annual pass holders being a little upset about this, and rightfully
I could see them being upset too, for sure. I mean, I probably wouldn't be happy about it either.
I think this is something we should. And you know what? Trevor's an annual pass holder now, so we'll have to. But you know what? Here's the thing. Like, for somebody like Trevor, it probably doesn't impact him enough. But again, I think that if I go, I budget out $300 a day for food. right? So if I'm hitting up a 7-day trip, $2,100, right? You're telling me $10. I'm not an annual pass holder, but let's just say I was. And you're saying, it cost me a couple $100 a trip.
Well,
2 trips, there's $400. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, and
if I did 10 trips, then all of a sudden, right, I'd be really, then you're really talking a lot of money. Then you're talking thousands of dollars.
Now, there are some upsides, along with the downsides to Tables in Wonderland. Like, if you go to valet park at a restaurant, they will waive the valet parking fee.
What valet parking am I doing? I'm a DVC member staying in Disneyland.
Well, yeah, but if you're a Florida resident, maybe you're driving to go to one, just maybe one night you feel like, I want to go to dinner at I don't even know where, but
don't they get free parking anyway?
They do, but this is valet parking.
Come on, stop with that. Stop.
Well,
that doesn't help anybody.
I know,
because then I got to tip that person anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Well, and they do also, there is a forced gratuity of 18% with all Tables in Wonderland, too. So, I don't
mind that because I tip 20% anyway, so that's fine.
Exactly. Actually, when I'm in Disney, I for whatever reason, I go tip crazy. Like, I tip like 30%. Like, if they're good. If they're not good, I don't.
That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
I'm out of control.
All right. Let's go on to our attractions. We'll revisit that again with Trevor.
Yeah, we could talk about that but it won't matter much for Trevor anyway because he's got the DVC discount. So, it's pretty
much... Is the DVC discount 20% though?
It depends on the restaurant.
Are there still some that are 20?
I think there's a couple that are.
Oh, I don't know
if they've updated any of those. I'd have to look.
That's what we need Trevor for.
Well, it's a long list of these things. So, and they update them all the time. But I believe there's some. Usually they're 10 to 20%. I believe there's a couple that are 20. So correct me if I'm wrong out there. That's okay. So a couple other things here. Some attraction updates. Toy Story Midway Mania closing their 3rd track temporarily, as well as
brutal.
It really is going to be brutal. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, everyone that went from 2 tracks to 3 tracks, you have to understand that Toy Story Mania, Midway Mania, was the same as,
Pandora. As Flight of Passage.
Yeah. There was 5-hour waits on that bad boy.
And it's a great ride. It's one of my favorites.
One of my favorites, yep.
Yeah. And so those that don't know, there was only 2 tracks to start out with. They opened a 3rd track in the building next door to it. But for Toy Story,
I think they lost Potato Man, though. Potato Head.
They did, but I'm hoping they bring him back. I haven't seen anything about that. I'm hoping he comes back.
Mr. Potato Head was the best, man.
He was awesome.
He probably broke all the time, though, like the Yeti.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very complicated animatronic.
But it was awesome.
It was really cool. If you got to see the Mr. Potato Head while you were in line,
it's no Pandora shaman, but
yeah, that's true. But it was like he was alive. It was pretty cool.
Or really Frozen at that point. Frozen was really good too. But anyway.
Frozen was amazing too. But so what they're doing is they're moving the entrance to Toy Story Midway Mania to Toy Story Land. So it's going to be it's basically flipping sides of the building. And in order to do that, they need to close down those tracks to do whatever refurbishment they're going to do to make that happen. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know how that's going to all work out, but that's what they're doing is they built a new entrance for it in Toy Story Land, and so they're going to move it over there. And so this is kind of in preparation for that. So they're going to close the 3rd track temporarily. They're going to close the original tracks kind of periodically as they prepare to do more construction.
Imagine being there in a day that's closed.
Oh my gosh. Because there's so few attractions left at Hollywood Studios right now while they redo that park. Oh gosh,
that would be
awful.
Brutal.
Yeah, there's been no schedule announced. We'd love to tell you when it's going to be closed, but they have not said when it's going to be closed.
That's gonna I might that might be a trip canceler for me, honestly.
Well, who knows though? There's no way to know when it's actually gonna.
I just booked my next trip. I'm in June.
When'd you book for? June?
Yeah, June.
What are you saying?
Animal Kingdom.
Oh man, I love Animal Kingdom.
I hate Animal Kingdom.
What?
Yeah, I don't like it.
You don't like the resort, or you just don't like Animal Kingdom?
Oh, the resort.
Why don't you like the resort?
Because the food's horrible.
Because it's like adventurous food. That's
yeah. I don't want adventurous food. I want.
But what about
sandwiches.
the hotel itself, though? Like going out on your porch and seeing a giraffe and a zebra.
I'm trying to go as cheap as possible. I was like, is there a view worse than the value view? Is there like a basement view? I'll take that.
There's the parking lot view.
Yeah, I'll take the basement view. I'll take the no window view. So no, I don't know what happened. This is interesting. I don't know if other DVC members have this problem. Probably not. But I was like, oh my goodness, I have a lot of bank points. Like, where the heck are all these points coming from? So I think
I've never had that problem. I use all my points.
Yeah, no, and again, you know, like we travel there regularly. Let's not get crazy. Like we go twice a year. I don't know how I go twice a year on 100 and what do I even have? 170 points. I don't know how that happens, but I do. I think it's all related to the fact that when I bought that first contract, I got the double points because of when I happened to buy that time of the year, and I don't know. We've already decided we are going to do a cruise with points.
Whoa.
Send all the hate. We're going to do a 3-day cruise with points, I think.
Wait, so you're actually gonna use the points to get the cruise, or you're gonna? Oh wow.
Yeah, I heard somebody. So you know, you always find Disney people in the most interesting places, and I happened to be renting my storage unit. And the guy that is the manager at the storage unit place happened to see something. I don't remember if I had something on. It definitely was not a DVC, one of the ugly hats, because that would have been horrible. I think it might have been my Ellen's Adventure awesome, extinct shirt. And he had said something to me, and I was like, oh, yeah. And he is like a Disney cruise savant. So he must Disney cruise like once or twice a year. And we happened to be kind of chatting about it. And he was saying that he's heard recently that the math is not that far off, and it may actually be beneficial at this point based on what you bought your points at, right? Because remember, like, everyone does the math about points and selling and this and that, but a lot of it has to do with, like Nick was saying, is when did you buy your points and what did you buy them at? Right? Yeah. Because the point value for the cruise really doesn't change. So if you bought your points at, let's say, I'm making up numbers here, everybody, 85 points versus 200. Well, yeah, 175 points for a cruise is at a different level for each one of those people. So he was saying that it might not be that bad of a, use of your points anymore as most people think. It might be one of those, things that started that way but is not that way anymore. But yes, I've already booked it. So we are going to Animal Kingdom. But Toy Story Land should be open in June, so I should be safe.
Yeah, you should be safe, actually. Are you going during one of the Moonlight Magics, or are you not going? I think you said on the last show right?
I think it's Typhoon Lagoon, though, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't think I'll do it. Dude, that stuff is too late for me, man.
It's too late at night, I know.
It's too late at night. I ruined my whole trip. And actually, from what I understand, where this trip is going to be a little bit more relaxed. I mean, I was just there in August, so I think it's going to be a little more relaxed. And even my friends that are going, it's going to be a little more relaxed. And I don't think I'm going to buy my tickets till I get there. How's that?
What, like at the window?
I might do it right at the window.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, actually, I don't think I'll do it at the window. I think I'll do it at the park.
Trevor is somewhere having a heart attack.
I think I'll actually do them at the hotel. But, what I kind of was thinking is everyone's like, oh, how can you do that? You don't get your fast passes. I don't need fast passes. What do I need to fast pass? So let's think about it, right? All right. I'm already getting my 18 million, well, I think I'm getting 15 fast passes based on talking to a DVC member on the cruise. Okay? So they can't be used at Pandora, and they can't be used at Dwarf Mine Ride, right?
Okay.
That ride sucks anyway. No one cares about that ride.
Lots of people do. It's always a long line.
The ride sucks. So don't really care about that. And Pandora will rope drop. So I don't think I'm going to give Disney my money for 6 months to hold on to while I do tickets this time, and I can't obviously use them at Toy Story when it is announced. Now, that's the tough one. What will I do? I'm just gonna, dude. I'm Mr. Rope Drop. If I have a nickname on this podcast, I am just gonna be Mr. Rope Drop because I don't really care anymore. Like, Frozen will be great to see. Like, I got that, the 4-leaf clover. Like, I'll get on rides I want to get on. I'm not all that worried. It will all work out.
It's funny, and you probably remember this, when Toy Story first opened, when they at Rope Drop, they used to walk people over to the ride. Like, the people operating the ride used to slowly walk people to the ride because people would trample each other to get there.
No, I was in trample time.
So, you were before the safety measures.
I was before the safety measure, and you know what I remember too? It was like this. This is how we used to do Toy Story Mania. All right, I used to rope drop with my family. I would run to the Fast Pass thing with all their tickets. We'd get in, and I'd be like, yo, I'm off. And I'd run and use, because when you get the paper Fast Passes, you got to put your ticket in, but you could just take everyone's ticket with you. You could put everyone's ticket in, get a Fast Pass, and then meet them on the front of the line. So ride it, and then ride it again sometime later in the day because I Fast Pass it. That's how we used to do it.
See, we would do the same, except without the running part, and we'd schedule ahead of time and then go and rope drop it, ride it once or twice.
I used to do like speed walking because, again, I also am the sort of person that thinks running in the park is ridiculous. So yes. I will go back and say I would speed walk it, right? Because there's a safe way to speed walk,
of course,
right? You just kind of gotta it's like a video game a little bit, like a little game of Frogger, but you can do it without making anyone upset and anyone's hurt feelings. So that's what I used to do. And again, my mom's disabled, so when we would go with them, I can't wait for that electric wheelchair to be rolling, right? Like I couldn't wait for that. So I just take everyone's ticket to be like, I'll meet you over there.
I'll just meet you there. Yeah,
exactly. So that's how we used to do that.
I know what you mean. Well, later on they made it so you had to. They were walking everybody over there. So
okay.
Which so just to be safe, I guess, because I'm sure somebody got trampled at some point. So
I'm sure.
we are way off the rails here as per usual, but that's okay.
Yeah, because you know why I did that though? Because I don't really care about the rest of the stuff.
Truth be told, I don't particularly care that after 22 years at Epcot, Circle of Life and Environmental Fable at the Land is closing on February 3rd. I'm not going to lie, I walked by that thing a million times and I've never gone into it.
Cool. So we're done with that topic. Next.
Yeah, well, the interesting... Well, hold on. The interesting thing about it is it could be related to a new Epcot pavilion. And so the reason why, it's kind of a domino effect. So right now, basically, there's like an arts program where it's like an education program where Disney has like a trailer out back where they teach kids things and stuff like that. And so basically all that is going to move into this theater.
No one wants to be taught things on vacation, so.
Well, I know. Well, I think it's for local. I think it's more local kids and stuff like that, like schools and things like that. And so they're going to move that from the trailer that's in the backstage area to this theater and get rid of the Circle of Life thing. So the thought is that might be in preparation for getting rid of that trailer completely and putting a new pavilion in there. But who knows? That's complete rumor at this point. But so those of you that love Circle of Life and Environmental Fable at the Land Pavilion, get there before February 3rd because it will be gone forever. I know there's so many fans of that one, so that's super popular. Anyway, you don't find this rumor to be interesting?
Is it happening at Disneyland?
Yeah, but I couldn't.
Then I don't care.
But it could have impacts elsewhere. So
no, it doesn't. That's
it could.
A lie.
So Disney is possibly. This is a rumor. This is in our rumor category because we always love to do rumors at the end. So Disney is possibly creating living Cars characters for Cars Land, and so basically, why are you sighing?
Nobody cares. It's in Disneyland.
No, it's so cool. I mean, but what if they did stuff like that? I mean, they're going to do stuff like that for Star Wars Land. I mean, they're going to have living characters in the park. So
when it's about Star Wars, let me know. Then I'll care.
Okay, fair enough. But a Disney Audition posting claims that it's looking for male and female individuals who are outgoing, energetic, enthusiastic to bring life to the citizens of Cars Land. The required skills are getting in and out of float vehicles repeatedly and being between 5'2" and 5'8" and a clean driving record. That sounds to me like they're going to be driving floats around and talking to people. I don't know. That sounds pretty obvious, I guess. But I don't know. I think it's a really neat idea, especially for the immersion and for being part of the land if they're going to be doing these types of things. But I know you don't care either way. But I think when they bring this to these types of things to Star Wars Land, it's going to be very cool.
I'll care then, yep.
Then you'll care about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they already kind of do some of this stuff at Disney World. They have that robot that's floating around Tomorrowland recently, and I can't remember his name right now. This would be good for Trevor because he would pull that name out of nowhere. But there's a robot that's been walking, not walking, but kind of rolling around Tomorrowland. It's some of that like Streetmosphere type of stuff that I really like. But anyway,
so let's talk about something topical for a second.
Okay.
Have you seen the post of the Slinky
the ride test?
Yes.
Okay. It's very dark and you can't really see anything.
Yep.
You're probably commenting on how slow it looks.
It looks stupid. And here's the other thing. So from what we've seen, there's no Slinky effect going on.
No.
It is not. This is stupid.
I mean, you felt that way though about Pandora before you went, and you came out liking it though. So
I told you Flight of the Passage was dumb.
Yeah, but you liked.
I like Navi River Ride. Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, you never know. It could be great. I mean, it's.
But we've seen it. I didn't see Navi River Ride before I went, so I was making an assumption. I've seen this, and it looks dumb. There's no let me Slinky. If I can't Slinky, then why is it Slinky Dog Ride? It should have been Rex's Rough and Tumble Ride, or
maybe they couldn't make that work.
Mr. Potato Head's awesome ride.
Well, it just kind of makes sense though, right? Because the Slinky Dog is shaped like a roller coaster train, so I think it just kind of
he's shaped like a roller coaster. A Slinky is shaped like a roller coaster.
It's long and straight. I mean, well, not straight necessarily, but
how is a Slinky shaped like a roller coaster?
I don't mean like the spirally part. I mean, it's just if you stretch out a Slinky, it's straight like a roller coaster would be. I don't know. You don't know what I mean?
I'm not buying into that. You mean a straight line as a roller coaster? Like I don't understand.
No, but I mean, I guess you could have made it whatever. But I mean, I don't know. It just makes sense to me, kind of the way the character is.
If it was Slinky-ing, that would be awesome. If there was some sort of Slinky aspect to it, yeah, I would agree with that. Like, it would have been kind of cool if it, like how in the movie where, like, you see Slinky Dog and all of a sudden his butt's in 3 rooms over and it's got to run to catch up with his head. All right, cool. Like, sign me up. Like, then that's awesome. This is the Barnstormer with different theming. Well, and that's stupid.
We only saw one little part of it, though. Maybe it does.
I didn't see it slinkying, and I don't think it's only going to slinky for certain parts of it. Now, that would be awesome, but you see the cars, and the cars don't look like they can slinky.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, I was a little disappointed in that, I have to say.
Yeah.
But it was kind of taller than I thought it would be. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent. I mean it's a big roller. It goes across the entire land, and it's definitely going to have a launch to it because it doesn't have a lift hill. So it weaves in and out of the land, and it looks really cool. I don't know. I think it looks really cool. I'm excited about it, but maybe once you see it in person, it'll look a little.
And what
different
else is going to be there? Is there going to be that? Is there? I feel like is this real that there's going to be like a claw ride based on the Ratatouille technology, or am I just making that up now?
Yeah. So basically, you're the little aliens from Toy Story.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I can get on board with that.
Yeah, it's the trackless technology, and it kind of the cars you kind of don't know where they're gonna go because there's no track, obviously, and I guess the claw is going to be looming over your head and, possibly, coming towards you and stuff like that. So that's kind of seems like what that's going to be. I mean, they haven't given a ton of details about it, but that's what they've said, basically, is what it is. So that should be neat.
Should be, because Slinky Ride super disappointing so far.
Save your judgment for when you go on it.
Maybe I don't even go on it. Maybe I don't even go maybe it's not even worth it.
I think it will be. All right.
Let's wrap this up.
Anything else you want to talk about? We can wrap this thing up. Let's wrap this thing up. It's getting late. Past your bedtime.
Dude, sorry. Yeah, it's 9:02. It is past my bedtime. All right. Let's see. I mentioned the email address, welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. Email us questions. You can always email us how wrong Tom is. I like that.
I'm always right, though, so that's why we get no emails about it.
Email us how much you miss Trevor. A lot of things you could email us. Email us if you don't like the show. If there's anything you hate that we can correct. You can always email us that too. Maybe we'll take that into consideration. Like I said, not even going to mention the website anymore because until we feel like we're going to update it all the time, it's worthless. But let's see. Questions. We always want questions. So if you have questions that we can answer or not answer or argue about or whatever, you can send us those as well. Let's see. Facebook. Please like Facebook. It's a little disappointing. I think we have more listeners than Facebook likes.
Far more listeners than Facebook likes.
Yeah, and that kind of hurts our feelings a little bit. Listen, here's
the thing. A multiple of 10.
Here's the thing. You can like our Facebook and then not follow us. That's okay. Then you don't have to get all of Tom's updates. That's fine. We would be okay with that. But like the Facebook page, please. Twitter at Welcome Home Pod. Whoever uses Twitter still. I actually do, so I can't complain. And then Instagram, which I won't even mention because we rarely use it. The bigger thing is ask for reviews on iTunes. We like those. I found the reviews hysterical to read. So please read them, laugh a little bit, and then add your own. That would be great.
We do. I read those reviews and do find it funny when they make fun of us. So
yes, so I'm okay with that too. and then I'm going to hand it back out to Tom.
All right. Well, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. Basically, when we put an episode out, it'll pop up on your phone that new Welcome Home is available, and you can go listen to it right away. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, just about any place that you can find podcasts. We are there. And just a reminder to our listeners, as always, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any opinion we express on this show is our own. So please consult with a DVC representative for more information, a cast member, call up Disney, talk to somebody to confirm this information in case it sounds, a little bit weird, because we are not always right. We try to be, but we don't try that hard. But
when Trevor's here, we try like 50%.
When Trevor's hard, yeah, that's true. When Trevor's here, he keeps us honest. So we can't wait to have Trevor back on the next episode. So, but you can find me on PrinceCharmingVacations.com for Disney planning needs. And Damon,
well, you can find me on BSC Kids. But some interesting news. I may be doing something with some DVC stuff on YouTube. So stay tuned. It's a little hint. I'm kind of trying to mesh it all out in my head. So
all right, well, stay tuned for that then. And please make sure that you visit Nick's website for information about DVC resale. Nick was kind enough to join us today and offer his expertise on DVC resale. And, great guy, really reputable company to work with. They're the best that's out there. So it's dvcresalemarket.com and also DVC Resale Market on Facebook as well. And you can reach out to them if you want to either sell your DVC or if you want to buy more, add on. Reach out to DVC Resale Market. That's the way to go. And Nick is going to take good care of you. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.